Have you seen the new enterprise security documentation on Power Platform? This isn't just a collection of existing docs. It's new and evolving with the latest from our engineers. Lance Delano explains what's new and even what he learned about Power Platform from these docs today on PowerCat Live. Welcome to PowerCat Live. My name is Phil Toppins with the PowerCat team, and I'm here with Lance Delano, Principal Program Manager. Hey, Lance.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. Thank you for being here and talking about the security docs that you put together. But before we dive into them, talk a little bit about what your day job is on this team and how you got it.
Sure. So as you mentioned, I'm Principal Program Manager, and I work on Power Apps, and I work on the runtime for Power Apps. So the way to think about that is that when you write an expression in Power Apps and it gets translated into a query that needs to run to the back end, that's my team. So connectivity, that's the easiest and simplest way to think about it. When you write a filter expression of any kind, our team's involved.
That is a good way to describe it. What did you do before you got this role? Like, what leads to this?
Well, I actually started out on the Power BI team and actually was responsible for the Power BI desktop, its birth and its incubation and its initial set of rollouts, the first couple of versions. And then I kind of rolled on to what eventually became Dataverse and rolled into Power Apps.
Wow, you've worked with some pretty big tech.
Yeah.
So now we're here talking about some security docs that you put together. Talk a little bit about, what this gathering or this group of security documents is and what's new about it.
Very good. Yes. So for some time, we've had a number of customers that have been asking us about, are we secure in this way? How do you handle data privacy in this way? And when we were a smaller bunch of groups, so here's Power Apps and here's Power Automate and so on and so forth, and there's Dataverse over there, each individual team would answer those questions and to varying degrees. And, if we had a question, we had answers, but we also had gaps. And then as we kind of came together as the larger Power Platform, the nature of the questions changed. It was no longer just about Power Apps or Dataverse or Power Automate or whatever portals. It was how secure is the Power Platform as a whole? And we really didn't have a holistic answer. And if you think about it for a few minutes, Dataverse is very different from Power Automate, which is very different from portals, which is very different from Power Automate, from Power Apps. And so we had a lot of deep answers. And for a long time, we would go, well, what part of the Power Platform are you worried about? And we would get all these escalations where a security person was going, I'm trying to find out what you're doing with what's data at rest in here. And we would go off and answer questions in a focused kind of way. And we finally said, enough. We need to have an all-up answer for all of Power Platform. And that's what kind of led to these articles.
Now, these are documents that cover Power Platform. Power Platform is built on Azure. So how does what you've documented for Power Platform relate to Azure itself?
The Azure is basically the foundation for everything that we do in the Power Platform. And then the really beautiful thing about the Power Platform is that it brings together so many technologies from Azure and makes them super easy for a low-code, no-code kind of development experience.
Sure.
So everything from the relational storage that you get with SQL Azure to blob storage to all of these various kinds of technologies, logic apps, whatever, it all comes together in Power Apps. And so sometimes the words that we use are a little bit different, but underneath all of it is Azure. So all of the security, all of the protection, all of the scalability that we get from Azure accrues to the Power Platform. So that's kind of how they're related.
And this is more than just a gathering of content from docs, right? Some of this content was never published on the web before. What's new that people should know about?
As I mentioned, we had a lot of answers, but we also had some gaps. So we had a lot of very good detailed documentation around Dataverse. Dataverse has been around for a long time. It went under a different name in years past, but a lot of that documentation already existed. in spades. It was all there. It was just there for us to have. And we have good information. And for instance, we had good information around the Power BI platform. Mm-hmm. But what we didn't have was a similar kind of story that we have for Power BI around Power Apps and Power Automate. We're missing stories around, for instance, the detailed way in which we do authentication for data versus just authentication to the service. And a lot of times, because GDPR and security are tightly interwoven, sure, we get questions about things like data at rest. And so people really wanted to kind of see, they wanted to kind of take the lid off and say, what's the basic set of moving pieces underneath what we see in the UI? Yeah. And how are things secure? That's what people wanted an answer to. And we would give these answers to people when they, enterprises, when they would come with security audits and whatnot. But we needed to kind of have an all-up story that we could give people.
Those are definitely some questions that we hear all the time. So it's great to have these documented. Are there any other big gaps that are now in this content that people should know about?
Yeah, there's one more, I think, really important one. So in addition to this sort of high-level set of descriptions that we give, along with pointers to more detailed documentation, we also get a lot of very, very pointed questions around this protocol versus that protocol. Right. And a lot of times these are Azure protocols that we're using, but we just need to make people clear on what we're actually doing and not doing. And so we have an FAQ with a top 10 set of questions that we get around those kinds of questions as well. They're not really high-level questions. They're very pointed, are you using this or are you using that? And so the FAQ, I think, answers the most common kind of questions we get in that area.
That's super valuable. And I'll put a link directly to that FAQ in the description so people can go check it out.
Yep.
Now, you have been doing Power Platform for a long time, from Power BI up through Dataverse and all that. When you went through all of this, what is something you learned about the platform after all that time that you didn't know until you went through all this documentation?
Yeah. So, my head's been buried in the runtime and the data model and how things authenticate and connect and whatnot. And quite honestly, I wasn't fully clear on exactly how we scale out and what we do in terms of ensuring that the protocols work correctly as we scale out, and how the traffic manager works and all that kind of stuff. And so actually, in taking the opportunity to go figure some of this stuff out and write down what's been collected in other places, I learned a lot about how actually we scale out and how we keep data protected in various regions. And so that was interesting for me.
So there's truly something for anyone to learn from these docs.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. No matter how deep you are in the platform, there's a nugget in there for you.
That's right.
So what's planned then? Are these done, or will they keep evolving over time?
Yeah. So actually, this is a very good point. So previously, again, I mentioned that we would do one-off kinds of answers, and we had the practice of creating PDFs that we would send out to people. The problem with those kinds of documents, of course, is that they grow old as new technologies come along and whatnot. And so one of the big things that we did here was bring everything together into the Microsoft document framework so that it would be sort of a living thing, so that as things got added or as we got specific questions, the interesting thing about the Microsoft Docs, in particular the technical documentation, is that the product managers and engineers can directly change and update the documentation. I just did an update
pretty easily.
Yeah, I just check right into Git and it gets reviewed and off it goes. So it's real time. So we can update those documents and have them be as fresh as possible. And so the really big thing is bringing it all together, making it live, and so we can respond real time to questions as they come in.
So this is a great new resource, not just now, but going forward. And so the link in the description is one for everyone to reference and also find a few things that they didn't know.
Yeah.
Lance, thanks for taking the time to talk about it.
Thank you.
Now, before you go, we are making new videos every week. Click this Microsoft logo to subscribe and you'll be the first to see them. And look over here for a couple of videos that can make you a Power Platform expert.